compulsory. In the United States, we call it the precautionary approach, and it's used to make policy. It's used to make policy in the United States if there is a suspected risk. Now, hey, we're doing some suspicioning ourselves, are we not? That this stuff is causing harm to us. But we don't count. We don't count. They don't recognize us as being the experts. And that's their game. So you know what, in 1992 now, okay, check it out. Everybody's going to go, well, hey, I don't see the UN in Bastrop. I don't see the UN here in Texas. Well, maybe they're in Austin. Okay. But here's how it works, okay? Check it out. 1992, the Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit, Bush signed on, actually, executive agreement. This is not a treaty. It was not ratified by Congress, did not need to be. He agreed to it through an executive agreement. Okay? It's soft law. It didn't have to go through Congress, right? Now, he went out of office in November, Clinton got elected in 1993, he took office, and 6 months later, President Bill Clinton created the President's Council on Sustainable Development. All right? The entire purpose of this council was to implement Agenda 21 in the United States. Okay, now who was on it? 10 cabinet-level secretaries, all right, including HUD, EPA, Department of Transportation, Department of Education, Defense, Energy, the whole bundle of them, right? Interior. Those guys were on there. This is the President's Council on Sustainable Development. Who else is on there? Some of the energy producers, like Enron. Ken Lay from Enron was on the President's Council on Sustainable Development. Now, I don't know if you remember Ken Lay, but yes, you do. I kind of doubt that Ken Lay is deaf. Let's see, it was the day before his sentencing and his body disappeared. They cremated it at 2 o'clock in the morning. Right, okay then. So, anyway, who else is on the President's Council on Sustainable Development? Well, you weren't, that's for sure. The nonprofits, the environmental nonprofits like the World Resources Institute, the Sierra Club, the World Wildlife Fund, they were on the President's Council on Sustainable Development, right? Okay, so what was the first thing they did? Okay, remember, this is how it comes into the U.S., right? It's in the U.S. You're going to see that this is a dusty old plan, that this thing is not here. You've got nothing to worry about. Not only that, but you got a tinfoil hat on, right? Yeah. You know what? I want stock in the tinfoil companies. This is ridiculous. This is how it happened. It came right in, right here, in River City. And this is how it works. So, 1993, they convened this cabal, and they said, how do we get this into every single city, county, the state, and the entire United States? They said, well, let's do it with land use. Let's bring it in as one of the major ways, bring it in with land use plans. Let's implement it, because those are all over the country, okay? So they said, well, you know what, let's commission a book with the American Planning Association. Let's give the American Planning Association $5 million to come up with a book so that we can get this into every single location in the entire United States. And they did. Here it is. This is the front cover. It's a 12-pound book, so I didn't bring it with me. It's called Growing Smart, Legislative Guidebook with Model Statutes for Planning and the Management of Change. Got that? Right. So, hey, I am a Democrat, by the way. I did not vote for Obama. Either time. I didn't vote for the Republican either, though. Yeah, okay. Okay. SMART is smart growth. By 2002, this was in every single planning department, every college, and every university in the entire United States. 12 pounds of statutes. You mix and match, you pull out anything, you say, oh, you know, you're going to go to your, well, if you're a legislator, or you're a county councilor, or you're a planner, you're going to go to these sort of statewide or nationwide meetings, and you're going to go, well, we tried this one on our town, and the people didn't say anything, so maybe you should try it, right? So this is how it works. It's a planning revolution. But President's Council on Sustainable Development said something else. They said, hey, you know what? If people get hip to this, they are not going to be happy. They're not going to like it. So we have to make them think that it was all their idea. So how are we going to do that? We're going to make them think it's going to be unpopular if we don't pull this together. So they commissioned another book. It's called Sustainable America, A New Consensus. So, if you go to your dictionary, you look up the word consensus, what does that mean? That means that here we are in the Bastrop Opera House. Look at how much trouble we have to get consensus in here with this crowd. It would take us quite a while because that is agreement of all parties. That's what real consensus is, okay? But a new consensus is what got commissioned for the President's Council on Sustainable Development. And what is that? What is the new consensus? Neutralization of the opposition. Neutralizing your enemies. That's what that is, okay? Now how do they do it? Now you go to those visioning meetings. You've been in those visioning meetings. You get, come on down and give us your opinion on this cool new plan for the center of Lockhart. Come on, yeah, imagine Lockhart. No, it's Bastrop 2020. We want to hear what you think. Come on down. Right, these are visioning meetings. You go into those meetings, they are using a Rand Corporation mind control technique called the Delphi technique. The Delphi technique. It's still on the Rand Corporation website. Yes, what is it? It is about bringing groups of people to a predetermined outcome while giving them the impression that it was all their idea. You are so smart. You came up with this plan all on your own. Aren't you cool? Right. And if you dissent, dissent. Well, dissent is not possible. I don't know what you think about being free, but to me, dissent is an integral part of freedom. Yeah. That's right, so when you're visioning, I'm going to be an optometrist these days. When you're visioning, you're looking at, what are you looking at? You're looking at cultivation and installation of shills. Literally, installation of shills in neighborhood associations. They go out and cultivate people who will support these plans. Why? Because they need buy-in. Now, they don't need real buy-in because we don't have it here, do we? They need the illusion of buy-in. That's what it's about. It's the illusion of public agreement. And then if you dare to disagree, if you dare to dissent, they will use communitarianism on you. They will shame you. They will mock you. Right? Oh, did you see Joe's not going along to get along? Oh, well, yeah. I heard he's, I bet his business is doing too well. That's right, this is what it is. It's about what? It's about, you're going to see the terms, well, it's basically manufacturing consensus, isn't it? It's not real agreement, right? So you're going to see this capacity building. You'll see strengthening community. These terms, you can flip these over. What this means is destroying community. This is what happens in these meetings when you really don't agree. You're at each other's throats. You end up not talking to your neighbors. That's what's going to happen when you re-erect your freedom. You will lose friends. So if you want a vibrant, walkable, bikeable community, if you want a consensus build, if you want to strengthen your community, this sounds good to you. Sounds real good to you. This is a global plan, implemented locally. It's implemented locally. So that's how it works. And for those of you who think that I am making this up, I want to show you this cool little book. It's called Rescue Mission Planet Earth, a children's guide to Agenda 21. Yeah, this is cute. It's really cute. You get it for like 99 cents on Amazon. I'm sure they're selling it out for like, geez, why are people buying these books all of a sudden? It's been out since 1993. It's pictures and stuff by the children of the world, and Boutros Ghali wrote the introduction. In here you'll find this little quote. It says, "The planet groans every time it registers another bird." Oh, yeah. Now here's the action book, the little activity booklet for kids here. It says, "Turning Agenda 21 into action is a big challenge for us all. Thousands of people at the United Nations and in governments are working on it. This booklet will show parents and educators how children can start to be a part of this work." That's right. That's what C-Scope is. C-Scope is called Common Core in other parts of the United States. This is everywhere. It's about behavior modification. It's about using your children. It's about training children to be obedient, to go along, to get along. This is what it's about. So check it out. Here's the philosophy, like this is what justifies it for people, right? The idea is that life in the suburbs, right, and the rural areas is unsustainable, yeah? And that's because we produce too many greenhouse gas emissions, right? It's that evil sprawl, right? Okay, it costs too much to get public transportation out to rural and suburban areas. Excuse me, what about that train? Well, okay. Anyway, that's the justification, right, for moving us into dense city centers. Dense city centers, and that is where smart growth is, usually. Of course, they're putting smart growth out in very small rural communities. Now, what's smart growth? Smart growth is high density development. That means a lot of units packed together tightly. And oftentimes, and it's mixed use. And what that means is you'll have ground floor retail built right to the edge of the sidewalk, 12 feet high, with 2 or 3 or more stories of residential on top of that. And right, around the back in the alley, you have access for one car parking per unit or less. Okay? Around in the front, you've got a wide sidewalk. Your street's on a diet. Of course, they took a lane out so they could do this. So you got a wide sidewalk for your bistro tables on every street, right? And then you've got your bike lane. And then you have a drive lane. And then you've got a median. And it's the same on the other side of the street. This is called a complete street, right? And this is the goal for everywhere. But, except, it is not the goal in the rural areas. The rural areas are the collector areas. Just think about that. So how are they doing this? They are creating this pressure. This is being disseminated all across the world, and they're using a non-governmental organization called the International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives, ICLEI. Now that was what they used to call it. Now they call it Local Governments for Sustainability, because they don't want you knowing that they're an international group. So this is part of Agenda 21, right? If you look at Agenda 21, it says it's about empowering major groups. And that's not you, right? It's civil society, and that is unelected policy makers. And that's kind of what ICLEI is. It was created as a non-governmental entity. It's a spin-off by the United Nations in 1990. And the whole purpose of it is to implement Agenda 21 across the world. It's made up of elected officials. So your elected officials may be sitting on these boards, but you have no influence on it. And up until recently, probably none of you have heard of it, okay? It's headquartered in Bonn, Germany, and it's a public-private partnership, right? It was designed to influence and change local government policies. And this is all over the world. They have like 7,800 cities and counties that are members now. They represent about 1 billion people in the world. And hey, most people have never heard of it. So I thought I'd just tell you, it is here in Texas. And you do have 15 cities at least. It's kind of hard sometimes to tell exactly how many there are in Texas. And what this means is that your council has signed on to this and probably not told you. So I don't see Bastrop on this list. I'm sure you're happy. That doesn't mean that it's not being influenced by these policies, though, just because you don't see it on the list. In fact, all the major cities in Texas are members. And in fact, the majority of the population of Texas is a member, without knowing it, of the International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives. So, what they do with this, this is important to know, okay? Why? Because they concentrate power. Think about this. We're taking a ride here on our bikes. What we're doing here is we're looking at how this comes down to Bastrop, and to Elgin, and to Hutto, and to Lockhart, and to Austin, and all over Texas, and to every city and state in the entire United States, and to every country, every nation in the entire world. This is how it's done. Okay? So, what they do is they circumvent the local power by creating this energy of this nonprofit corporation, this nonprofit organization, and it circumvents the requirements for ratification of international treaties. So think about this, okay? Kyoto. We did not sign on to the Kyoto Treaty, right? Kyoto. It says it's about anti-sprawl, it's about reducing greenhouse gas emissions, it's about restricting use, okay? We did not sign on to this in the United States. But what happened? 1,060 United States mayors did basically sign on to it through the International Mayors Conference. This is a United States Conference of Mayors for Climate Protection. And there are 31 cities in Texas that have agreed to this, including Hutto. And what this did was it basically committed you to reducing your greenhouse gas emissions. Is that such a bad thing, Well, hey, am I like some person who leaves my tap running and, just like guns my car or whatever? No, and you're not either. We are all concerned with protecting our environment, all of us. This is where we live. This is our world. We want to protect our environment. This plan is a hijacking of the environmental movement. So what happened here, I was thinking, hey, Kyoto's an international treaty, right? I said, I wonder what country that signed on to it has reduced their greenhouse gas emissions the most. What country? What country do you think? Out of all the countries in the world that have signed on to the Kyoto Treaty, the international treaty, who has reduced their greenhouse gas emissions the most?
No one.
You're all wrong. Okay, here it is. Latvia. Tiny Latvia, clinging desperately to the edge of the former Soviet Union. Little Latvia has reduced its greenhouse gas emissions the most. Now, what is Latvia known for? They are known for having these city blocks, these huge concrete buildings, multi-story buildings, where they can shut the heat off with one click in the winter, right? And not turn on the air conditioning in the summer. And what else are they known for? What else is Latvia known for? Their human rights abuses. Hey, pretty good, huh? You too can reduce your greenhouse gas emissions. All you have to do is abuse your people. Easy, no problem. So, ICLEI also put out the Local Agenda 21 Planning Guide. Okay? And this is also in your planning departments. This is put together by ICLEI and the United Nations. And they'll tell you that they're not connected to the United Nations. That's a lie. They're lying. So what's the goal here? The goal is, I call it the green mask. They use the green mask of environmental concern. And the two parts of Agenda 21 then are imposed on us. And that's smart growth, which is moving populations into concentrated city centers and restricting mobility, having us monitored, controlled, and surveilled. You don't need a private vehicle, right? What do you need a car for? You're on a bus line. You don't need a car. Hey, you're not out here in Bastrop. You're in town. And you don't need a vehicle, right? What's the other part? The wildlands, and that's where you are, out here. And that's getting people out of the rural and suburban areas, getting them off of rural roads, blocking access to wilderness roads, wilderness areas, and to the resources, right? Shifting land ownership from private to public. This is a goal of Agenda 21. And they are doing it. Now by 2002, Growing Smart, as I said, was in every single planning department, every single college, and every single university in the entire United States. Planners were being trained in it. Okay, the planning revolution was happening by 2002. Of course, remember, during this entire time, anyone who talked about Agenda 21 was called a nut. And right until, last week, I think I was called a nut today, probably. Okay, so this is, this is the disinformation campaign. Oh, don't look here, nothing to see here, right? So all across the nation, here's how it works. All across the nation, cities and counties have their comprehensive general and master plans. Now I'm going to tell you how this really works, okay? We're not just playing games here. This is the real deal. I'm going to tell you exactly how this works here. This is it. Now, Texas in 1997 passed Section 213 of the Local Government Code, and that allows cities to have their general plans, their comprehensive plans, their master plans. What these are long-term goals for the growth of your town. These are all across the United States. Almost every city and county in the U.S. has these, and including states have them too, okay? So this trumps zoning. You might be zoned to do something in the center of your town. Maybe you own a piece of commercial property and you think, I could put a little commercial building there. No, you can't. Because if your general plan has redesignated that area for mixed use, for smart growth, for transit-oriented development, you're not going to be building that little commercial thing unless it's got 2 or more stories of residential on top of it. And you know what? It's not very easy to get a loan to build something like that because there is not any demand for it. So that means you may not be building anything. You may be sitting on your property. You may be paying property taxes for nothing until somebody comes along who's a favored developer who is in the pocket, who says, hey, I'm getting federal grants, and I'm getting city and state assistance to take that land, to buy that land, to purchase that land, which is hardly worth anything now because no one else can do anything with it, and I am going to be supplemented, subsidized by your tax dollars to build that smart growth development there. This is how it works. Now, you know what? Remember I showed you that, the 3 circles. Well, in my area, the county was below mine, it's Marin County. This is their comprehensive plan. And right inside of it, you'll see the image, the logo, right, of Agenda 21, right in there. And this is not uncommon. You see this all over the country. So this is not something that they don't know about. And in fact, check this out. This is from the United Nations. It's the future of local Agenda 21 in the new millennium. And it was put out in 1998. And the guy who wrote it was an advisor to the President's Council on Sustainable Development. He was the chief planner for the city of Seattle. What did he say? Listen to this. He said participating in a UN-advocated planning process would very likely bring out many of the conspiracy-fixated groups and individuals in our society such as the National Rifle Association, citizen militias, and some members of Congress. It's weird. This segment of our society who fear one world government and a UN invasion of the United States through which our individual freedom would be stripped away, would work actively to defeat any elected official who joined the conspiracy by undertaking Local Agenda 21. So, listen. So, we call our processes something else, such as comprehensive planning, growth management, or smart growth. You got it? That's what it is. Okay? So, your town gets federal and state transportation dollars. And it comes in to regional boards. Now, these are boards that are not elected. You don't elect these boards, they're appointed. They're made up often of elected officials, but you have no influence on what happens in those boards, right? So, right here, of course, there's 500 of them in the United States. In Texas, you've got 27 of these boards. And in this area, you've got Capital Area Council of Government, CAPCOG. 10 counties, 90 cities and school boards and things, 8,500 square miles, 1.8 million people. That's pretty big, right? That is a board. This is a council of government. This is the way that the money comes through. Now, it comes through the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and here it's called the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. That's 5 counties. That's Travis, Hayes, Williamson, Bastrop, and Caldwell. That's 45 cities. This is how it happens. The money, you know this is a top-down thing, right? This comes from the feds. Your money's coming from the feds and the state. It comes to your little town. Your little town gets told that you either play ball or you die. You want that money? Now, this is a federally funded metropolitan planning organization, right? And it's federally mandated. This is where the federal transportation dollars get moved into the local areas. And they require sustainable communities strategies. They were on the President's Council on Sustainable Development, right? Department of Transportation. Yeah, so they determine who gets money, who locally gets money. Now this is where we get to you, right here, okay? This is Sustainable Places Project. Okay, have you heard of it? Yeah, okay. Now, all over the United States,